You know, if rock is dead, explain Dave Grohl. I'll give you a minute in a minute. But consider the man. Consider Dave Grohl for a while. Consider what he's done lately. Consider that he broke his leg and it was thought that they wasn't going to be able to do a lot of the dates on his tour. Now he's already back. He's performing in a purple cast, which I'm assuming was probably a color that was either selected by his, I believe he has a daughter. Either that or by Grohl himself, because Dave is ridiculous. And he was performing in a makeshift throne, almost as though this is Game of Thrones, the Rockstar edition, and Dave Grohl is seated on the Rockstar throne of 2015. Already back, already performing, looking like he's having a blast, because Dave Grohl is, he's very old school in that variety. He's somebody that can't be held down or held back by a lot of the traditional things here in 2015 that are holding a lot of artists back. Now, a lot of you may say that he already has built-in album sales. He's pre-established. This is not something that the usual rock star Jimbo could be able to pull off and have it not only be news, but also be something that's perceived and considered as important. And I agree with you, actually. I agree. That's the reason why rock and roll as a whole is something that's very driven and very motivated, not only by the artists themselves, not only by the celebrities themselves that have these larger-than-life personas, but also it is driven very much by the press, very much driven by the public. This showcases why it is so important for those of us that are out there who have an appreciation and a love for rock and roll, that we continue to seek out these stories, that we continue to share this information, that we continue to show that rock and roll is not only alive and well, but rock and roll has one hell of a soul that is attached to it. And that it's something that needs to be explored by a lot of individuals. It's something that should be loved by a lot of individuals, that it does still represent something. And it's something, though, where rock itself needs to sort of get back into that mode. It's a lot to digest, I understand that, so I'm going to kind of break it down a little bit. And we've talked about this before in some ways. We talked about it whenever we talked about Gene Simmons speaking about rock being dead. We've done 10 rock bands that prove that rock isn't dead, and other videos like it, but it's a situation and it's a topic that has become such a large ideal and a large thought process that it sort of needs repetition every so often, just so people understand that this is a genre that should not die, and this is a genre that will not die. I feel that Dave Grohl has the opportunity, and has had the opportunity, to be an influence to a lot of individuals, to really pick up a guitar and become a rock star, to pick up a couple of instruments, whether it be a guitar, whether it be a bass, whether it be drums, hell, even if it's a goddamn bassoon. If Dave Grohl is the man that encouraged you to get into that, then there you go. Just the same as, you know, somebody may claim that Geddy Lee inspired them to get into the bass. Either that, or perhaps it was maybe Neil Peart got you into music or into drumming or whatever. Perhaps it's James Hetfield who got you into wanting to play in a metal band. Either that, or perhaps even Kerry King of Slayer, or Tom Warrior from Celtic Frost. Maybe Lady Gaga is what encouraged you to be a singer. Either that, or perhaps you listened to Florence Welch and decided that you wanted to be in an alternative product and really show what ladies are able to do in the rock environment. It really doesn't matter whom it is, but it's something where all of this encouragement needs to be fostered and needs to be encouraged. I know a lot of you out there that are watching this are probably young. You guys are probably youths that are between the ages of maybe 13 or 14 and goes all the way up to 40 and 50. I know that there's a wide swath of viewership as far as age range that views these videos, and I'm thankful for that. But I do also want to indicate that it is very much up to us to really encourage this, and it's not something that needs to be discouraged based around the fact that it's a job that these days, being a rock star, only pays the few and the proud that are getting album sales, that have merch sales that really seem to connect with the nation. But it's from fostering more than just that. It's fostering listening to this stuff. It's getting the music out there for the folks to listen to, the kids and everything like that, if that's what they want. It's having them sample these different instruments, even if it's something that does not lead to a profession. even if it's something that they just learn for a couple of years and it's a tool that they have in their back pocket, it's certainly something that should be fostered. And those of you who are a little bit older, I know that you love to talk about the old days and love to talk about how rock and roll was. And we speak with a lot of nostalgia because every generation feels that their music that they were listening to whenever they were young is really the greatest music of all time. And really, this is a subjective debate that can very easily be true in various inversions or various ideals to each individual, but each individual is going to be very different and have very different reasons behind that, mainly because if they are true music fans, that's the music that really is sort of attached with their soul and kind of part of their identity. Dave Grohl is one of the main reasons, one of the main champions for rock and roll here in 2015, in an age where it seems that there's a lot of simulacrum out there. If you don't know what simulacrum is, this is where by looking at the root word itself, that a lot of things kind of sound and look the same, and what I like to call, it's very plastic music. It's something that doesn't have a lot of creativity, a lot of soul. It's something that's very much generated as opposed to created. And you look at the individuals that kind of generate this music, and you can kind of tell when it is generated because it sort of has this blankness to it. It's something that's really... they use terms in lyrics, not to mention they use chords in structure that are meant to apply and appeal to a mass, and it sort of usually is able to accomplish that task, but by and large, whenever you go through the epochs of history, you're not going to see these songs of the moment, so to speak, really last the test of time. For example, Alter Bridge had a track in Blackbird that was rated a couple of years ago as one of the best guitar tracks of all time, and it's actually, in some circles, more highly regarded than Stairway to Heaven. And this is a track that was not necessarily played to death on radio, or not necessarily played to death in live shows, or was on every television station on the late night broadcasts and things like that. This is actually a song that was kind of in the underground a little bit, that really gained a reputation through live spectacle and through album. Those folks that purchased the album and listened to the track and really were able to marvel in its majesty. This is something where there needs to be a little bit more outward exploration toward this, and it's something also where, to couple with the modern rock radio idea, really needs to be fostered as opposed to really aiming for singles that are going to hopefully generate a significant buzz. You can have one of those, but then you have to kind of go with a song that doesn't sound like it has singles potential, and then it ends up really being the song that just blows people away. You know, great example of that is Pumped Up Kicks by Foster the People. No one really thought that song was going to take off too much, but its catchiness and really its timing and its quirkiness and kind of even the subject matter gave Foster a great hit that really blew up torches. Not to mention the rest of that album really had some spectacular moments that were also singles. And AWOL Nation is another great example. Hell, even Imagine Dragons. Now, Imagine Dragons is a band where Radioactive, which is the song that I think sounds the most different for them, I think is still their best track. AWOL Nation's Sail is one that I still think has the best quality to it. I think that whenever you're in a group, you need to be willing to take those risks and take those leaps, and you're going to notice a lot more people kind of heading toward the direction of rock if some of those leaps and some of those risks are kind of exposed a little bit more and given a little bit more credit. That's why I aim to talk a little bit about rock on this channel as opposed to just sticking with heavy metal. It's the reason why I try to expose a little bit of everything. But it's also the reason why I tend to really stay within a certain realm. I stay within a certain real explorative realm where things are a little bit more out of the ordinary as opposed to focusing on just the ordinary. That's the reason why whenever I talk about, say, the Black Keys with Turn Blue last year, I was a little bit more convinced that they were in some ways making their Dark Side of the Moon, and how it had a very Pink Floyd-y resonance to it in places, while also staying very true to their identity. It's why I talk about Portugal the Man and how they're able to really sound and feel a lot like indie rock heroes, even without that indie rock gloss, or talking about a band like My Morning Jacket that is able to really rescue the idea of soul being a part of rock and roll music. And you could couple that with Gary Clark Jr. a little bit, except his is a little bit more in the style of the blues. Rock is doing just fine, but what really needs to happen is that these individuals, these names that are very, very well known among certain circles, need to become more well known throughout larger circles. And also, we need to be a collective culture that really respects and really expects a little bit more of that creativity and a little bit more of that randomness, a little bit more of that fun charm from rock music than something that just seems like each and every track that the band has previously done. I understand that simplicity has worked for rock in the past. Take a look at a group such as AC/DC. But AC/DC themselves, with Rock or Bust last year, just kind of turned up and dialed up their fury a little bit and really made just a riff-centered album that did sound and does sound a lot like the others from AC/DC's catalog, after the addition of Brian Johnson, but still just has a little bit more of that vigor, a little bit more of that bite that really still satisfies to this day more than 6 months after its release. So we need to come to expect a little bit more. We need to come to demand a little bit more, and we need to also, instead of just complaining about it at all times, we also need to be willing to give the shine to individuals that are doing this. And that's the reason why Dave Grohl right now is the reason why rock isn't dead, or at least one of them. And really, if rock is dying, then Dave is the one who is still in the room with rock, nursing rock, and preventing the Dr. Kevorkian of the mass media from really just going over and pulling the plug on the life support that perhaps rock right now is currently dangling from. That might be a subjective opinion by itself. You may feel that somebody aside from Dave Grohl is in this position, or that this position is not even, this fantastical metaphor is not even valid, that actually rock is doing just fine. And I would agree with that as well. I think that it's there, it's just not there as far as the exposure is concerned or the public appreciation. But regardless to which metaphor, or regardless to what situation you feel is accurate, you cannot sell short the fact that Dave Grohl just has fun with this. The fact that even though the last Foo Fighters album, Sonic Highways, was just kind of meh, they're still a group that really makes the live spectacle exactly that. They give it that special charm. And the fact that a lot of rock groups, and whether that be present or whether that be in the future, could actually learn a lot of things from the individuals from not only this generation, but also the rock bands that have come to pass. That's all I really have to say about it. This is not really meant to be a target. This is really not meant to change minds, but it is meant to really call attention to the fact that in this world where it seems like there are certain styles that dominate for all of the, I want to say even the wrong reasons, we need to show our collective muscle, and we need to show a reason why this music, this rock music, has been around since the earliest portions of the 1950s, and how it has morphed and how it has really transformed into something greater. We need to show that because we are fans that are better than what the output that we've given, quite frankly. And we are also fans that for a while have been kind of supporting very similar sounding products, and we need to look toward the future while also respecting the past. That's all I have to say.